Okay, in this video we're going to walk through how to take your part from a solid, after you actually model this part, after you have this completed and ready to go, you're going to take this over to a layout and you're going to set up what is called a half section view. A half section view is when you're not cutting the part fully in half, all right? You're not cutting this as a full section view. You are only taking basically a quarter of the part out. That is called a half section because it's not a full section cut. Now, it is sometimes confused with what is a quarter section. People use that term. It's not. It's called a half section because it's half of the section. The part that is revealed as a section, you can see down here in the front view, you can see the section material. You can see the part in this hatching down here. This is calling out steel, ANSI 32. And this being called out down here, you can see that this part has been sectioned. This cutting plane line that is coming across the part, this is what you are seeing here. And then the cutting plane line is coming forward. And that is this line right here. Okay, so you do see this piece removed. You can see the countersink clearly as a visible line. You can also see the fastener, the threaded, the thread specification here for this threaded hole. They do allow hidden lines for the what would be the major minor diameter here regarding this thread specification. Notice though that the rest of the hidden lines have been removed in this particular view. This being a section view, all hidden lines are removed. This portion of the object is still set up in what would be standard orthographic projection. So this side has to have hidden lines. Now, let's go back and I'll walk back how to create this from start to finish. Alright, with a new sheet set up, I'm going to go and grab my base view, and the view comes from the top. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the top view in position here, and then hit OK. Now, notice that I have my threaded portion here across, so I'm actually cutting that as I make my section view. I'll go ahead and grab my section view tool. I mouse over the view to highlight the view, and then I left click. Now I come and set up the cutting plane line. I want to be approximately a quarter of an inch off the edge of the part. Then I left click. Then I move to the center of my part. I left click again. And then I move down off of my part approximately a quarter of an inch. Left click, then right click, and hit continue. Now you can see that I'm pulling the section view into the correct orientation for the view. I put it in position, and then I left click. That creates the section view. So with this created, we're going to zoom in here and you're going to see that here's my counterboard. That's great. I have my threaded part. But over here I have no hidden lines. These need to be turned back on. So Inventor is great with following rules, but when you do something like this, you kind of have to make sure as a draftsperson you know what to do. So I'm going to left mouse over the view so it highlights, and then I'm going to right click and go to Edit View, because I want to change the view. So from here, I'm going to then come over here, and right here, this is saying style. Now, it's gaining the style, okay, which is the style here. This is where you have your hidden lines, you have your removed lines, all that stuff. This is coming from the base, okay, meaning the base view. That is the view it pulled from. I need to come up here, and I want to override that. I want hidden lines to be turned on, okay? So if I do that, you can even uncheck the button down here that you're gaining scale, style from base. I'm sorry, that's the scale. You want the scale to stay the same. This is the style button. You want to uncheck this style button and then make sure that you turn on the hidden lines. So style is coming not from base, and we want hidden lines, and then hit OK. Scale we want to stay. Once I do that, you can see that I have all these hidden lines popping up. Well, these over here are correct. These over here need to be removed. So we are going to remove certain hidden lines. This one can go away. This one can go away. Same with these two here. So I'm going to hold down my control key, and I'm just going to go ahead and select the ones I want to remove. They turn green, and then I'm going to right click on one and find the check for visibility. Uncheck visibility, and they go away. Alright, so those are gone. Now, what we'll do next is we just start going to note the drawing. Actually, before that, let's just talk about these section lines. The part itself is steel. okay? And if we set up the hatching correctly, then this should end up being your steel hatch, okay? You can always go in and double check that by selecting the hatch with a left click, right click, and go to edit. And if you have a buy material check here and it's set up so it's steel, then you're good to go. Your property for the part is set to steel, and then you can see your hatching has been set to steel also. If this is not the case, let's say that this is not showing up as steel, even though we have this part set up as steel, so I'm going to go in and just check to see the eye properties. And here I can see this is steel, all right? So if this was not showing up as steel, how do we fix it? Well, in the drawing, you go to the Manage tab. You're going to go into Styles Editor. And when your Style Editor opens up, we want to go to, I believe, Default Standard is the style editor that we were playing around with here. And then you slide over here to the Material Hatch Pattern Defaults, okay? Once we get over here, we want to make sure From Style Library is selected. And then we're going to slide over here. We've got to find that material. So I'm going to slide on down here to steel. Where's steel? There's steel. Highlight steel. And then you click on the ANSI 31, which is a default number. And then we're going to find the ANSI 32. Then that changes your thumbnail. Okay? And then we can hit Save and Close. That's how you guys would set up that default standard. Okay? Now, mine is working right now because I'm probably using the GHS Mech Draw standards. All right? And I jump into here, and I slide down, and I should be able to find steel. There's steel, and it's set to ANSI 32. So you can see that's why this was functioning for me, because that's the standard I had active. All right, so it's section lining all set. Let's talk about the label, since this has to do with the cutting plane line and the label for the section. So all sections on a sheet should start with AA. So if I have two sections, I should have one that's AA, and then one that's BB, and then CC, etc., etc. So this being BA, this is because I've made a bunch of different sections, and then Inventor just keeps adding these, okay? So instead of doing that, what we're going to do is I'm going to left-click on the view, right-click, and go to Edit View. Here, we just go to the label. And instead of having whatever's here, type in A and hit OK. And that changes the label, and it changes the A or AA on your cutting plane. So now you're ready to basically dimension this as if it is a standard multi-view drawing. I'm going to go to my Annotation tab. Always start with your center marks. So center mark the largest outside circle. Then start working your way in from that point. We'll go ahead and grab these countersinks. And this has all been marked with the largest circle. Then I can grab my bisectors. And I can start working the interior features here. Go ahead, I'm going to bisect that. And also, don't forget your threaded hole here. Now, because this is a countersink, I'm going to go ahead and just pull this up so it's approximately 1/4 inch up off the part, just like so. All right, that's fine. And then I dropped one here. We're going to go ahead and pull this one up also so it extends past the edge of the object. So at center marks, now I can go ahead and start creating dimensions. So for dimensions, we're going to go ahead and start on the outside, and we'll start working our way in. Now here, to come up with the dimension, this in the drawing I gave you guys, there is a dimension arc here. To get this dimension arc, what we need to do is we need to create a sketch, and then we can utilize some trimming to get this dimensional arc. So I'm going to say that we know that this is 3.24. I'll jump back to my, I'm going to jump back to here. So we're going to add a sketch here. So I'm going to select the view, grab Start Sketch. I'm going to grab my circle tool, and then carefully find the center. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm carefully to grab that center. Pull out until we find center. Now they should line up, double check that. As they line up with the other features, then I'm going to go ahead and click to create the circle. Then I'm just going to grab some geometry, some lines I'm going to draw out, and I'm really doing this with no particular angle whatsoever. Drawing out, and then I'm going to trim. So I grab my trim tool, and I click on that arc. I'm going to then get rid of these lines because I don't need them either. Because really all this is going to do is give me a position for dimensioning to. So once I have that nice arc, I can hit Finish Sketch. Then I can grab my Dimension tool and utilize that for a radius dimension to then position these holes out. All right, so then we just keep working our way in, and we can continue to add information. We'll go ahead and grab the large boss here off the top, and then I usually like to give the counterbore information using the hole and thread tool here, and I usually give that in the front view so you can see that this is a true counterbore. Okay, that way there's less confusion. Because you see this and you're like, hey, wait a minute, that's a visible line. There's a funky something here. That's a counterbore, okay? Then we can go ahead and we can create the note for the countersink. And if we need to move it over here, have a little more real estate, we can go ahead and do that. And then if you want to add the note to this, you hit escape twice to get out of the hole and thread tool, and then double click on the text. Now, what you see is the hole and thread note. This is where the diameter is being read off of the model, the depth is being read off of the model, etc., etc., okay? So then we can go ahead and hit enter, and then we can go ahead and enter in the text. So I think it was like 6 equally spaced. So we know that there's going to be 6 of these equally spaced around here. Whoop, no, I'm sorry, not 6, 4. Go back into there and let's change that. So it's 4 equally spaced. There we go. So then finish up dimensioning this as it's a standard part. Obviously, we're going to have to give some information here for height. We're also going to have to give some information for height of this particular feature. Don't forget your fillet information on the part. And then probably some notes because we have another fillet running around out the part here. Probably do something else like that. So as you continue through, make sure that all the notation that was given to you to make the part is present, so that you can continue to create the same drawing as needed. So go back and reference the assignment, go back and reference the notation, and then make sure that you have all notation.